How's it going, everybody? It's time for my least favorite time of every 2 weeks, and Scotty's favorite time. It's time to talk about war rankings. Woo! Yay! Let's measure wallets. So a big shift happened in the war power rankings, in no small part to the Mephisto rework. Let's just talk about that a little bit here before we move on, Scotty. How has the Mephisto rework affect war?
So it was a two-parter, right? So Thursday, the blog came out saying they were going to be buffing Mephisto as far as stats and his moves, and said they would be live by Friday, the next day. Everyone was mid-war at this time, and we were just getting started on ours, and Zubin goes, I'm all of a sudden looking at a 1 million Mephisto, and he was not 1 million a moment ago.
From frame to frame, the upgrade. You love to see it. So yeah,
So
go ahead.
So then there was the question of, is it just the stats or are his moves updated? And then we were checking in game and it did not look like his moves were updated. But we were just confused because, like, if you level a character or gear up a character, they don't go live on your war defense until the war is over. But like this went live on everybody's defenses, like mid-war for everybody.
Yeah.
So then we had to wait and get confirmation to see if his moves had changed, because that might change even more for him. And they were bigger and a bit harder to deal with, but it wasn't a big deal. But then the final changes went into effect on Friday, before everybody's war started, and it was chaos.
Yeah. They might have overstepped a little bit. They might have broken things, and that's what we're going to have a lot of fun talking about and making fun of people for here today. So let's jump into it, starting with the ranks from top 11th to 25 positioning in the worldwide war rankings bracket that people surely care about, and unless they're not in one of those alliances, nobody cares. So let's get it started with the rejects of the war brackets, the people who think they're the big dogs, but really, they sleep outside in the outhouse because they don't belong, and they know they don't belong. We're talking about the rankings 11th to 25, starting with TSF Pride Assassins. So Scott, why don't you tell me about whatever these bums got up to and why they didn't move from the top 25 here?
So they were 21st last time. So this time, I think they had some losses to, like, I think XA Frost was the big one that dropped them down. Otherwise they had a terrible week of facing like the Black Onslaught, Sex Panthers, the Black Vengeance, like people that were higher above them anyway. So that did drop them down. They didn't come out of the top 25, but did drop quite a bit.
Right on. So when these guys, now that they're back in the kindergarten class, they're gonna smack around some toddlers here and there, and then we might see them climb up next week.
Yep.
You know what? If you got to do what you got to do to climb, guys, I feel you. I feel you. Punch below your weight class. Just always make sure you're taking the sandbag matches. I appreciate that about you because you're honest in your trashy ways. All right, let's move on to XA Frost. What do they got going on?
So they moved up one, just because of their win over Pride, and they didn't have any other losses to anyone below them. But I think otherwise it was kind of a minimal movement week for them. Nothing crazy. They also had to fight, like, they got the Carnage shell because Carnage disbanded this week, which opened up a spot for someone to get in. Nothing else crazy, I don't think, though.
Right on. Says like they had as boring a raid season as they are boring an alliance. All right, moving on to NWO Exiles. These guys are what, wrestling fanatics? These guys like members of the Heartgrave cult? What's going on here?
I don't know. They are new to the top 25, so they were on the watch list last season, and then they had wins over Frost and X Academy Blue. Like, they were kind of just on the edges, but that just brought them in because of the Carnage disbanding.
Right on. Hey, whenever you can prop yourself up from somebody's downfall, that is the human thing to do. Always cannibalize and vulturize your enemies, because that is the only way really untalented people can move up, and that's what we see here. All right, Allspark Phoenix Force. These guys have a cool name. What are they doing?
They're dropping, unfortunately. Wow. They had a rough week. I do talk to those guys quite frequently, but it sounds like it was terrible. They had 6 losses. They had Sex Panthers, Onslaught, Troopers, the Black Vengeance, the Black Diablo. Diablo was below them before, so that kind of dropped them down more because Diablo moved up because of them. But yeah, they had a rough week
All
or
right.
2 weeks.
Well, listen. Here's my message to you guys in Phoenix Force. Step it the fuck up or change your name. You don't get to have a cool name like Allspark Phoenix Force without smacking some bitches around, okay? Figure it out. The Black Diablo, you said these guys just beat the Allspark Phoenix Force. They have a stupid name from a stupid game that didn't deliver on release. Diablo 4 is trash. Why aren't these guys trash? Why are they moving up?
Like maybe that's a reference to something other than the game.
It's not. No, it's not for me. It's the reference that I said it. It's my video, my channel. This is what it's going with.
What was the question?
Why do they move up besides beating the Allspark Jubilee Force? That's what you guys are now. For losing to the thing named after Diablo 4, you are now the Allspark Jubilee Force. I expect you to change your name until you beat them. All right, continue. Black Diablo, why are they 21?
So they only moved up 1 because of their win over Phoenix Force, but they actually lost to Pimpin' Ain't Easy, so that kept them from moving up more.
Ugh. Pimpin' Ain't Easy, the people that can't even spell their name properly. like even the improper ain't. It's just, oh, okay. What's the deal with Pimpin' Ain't Easy? We got some pictures for them. How they doing?
So Pimpin' Ain't Easy is also new to the top 25.
Okay.
So they had the win over the Black Diablo, which is basically what brought them in. They unfortunately did get the Onslaught experience when Mephisto's buffs were live on Saturday, and it was not pretty. But the win over the Black Diablo is the one that you just showed, I think. And that was...
And we also have the one for the X Academy coming in hot here as well.
Yes, and they also beat X Academy Blue, which that's why those guys have been pushed out of the top 25.
Wow, this is not the right picture. This is the right picture. All right, here's the thing. Everybody that loses to people that put the word pimpin' in their name, step your game up, get your pimp hand strong, because these guys are clearly 12-year-old edgelords, and you cannot lose to a 12-year-old edgelord whose freaking name is Pimpin' Ain't Easy. And they didn't even go all the way. Listen, if you're gonna go full, you know what, from Tropic Thunder, you gotta at least spell easy EZ. You don't do what you just did, and you don't commit to the EZ, okay? This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and I won't stand for it. All right, the Black Vengeance, talk to me.
So they had a pretty boring 2 weeks. They didn't face anyone kind of ahead of them to move. No one beat them below them. They did move down 1 slot just because of one alliance that moved up quite a bit, which I'll talk about in a bit. But they had a static season.
Boring, just like this video is already. All right, questionable propriety. Just like this video is questionable because we're talking about a freaking alliance. It's called Pimpin' Ain't Easy. That's incorrectly spelt on one end, but correctly spelt on the other end. I am so frustrated by the stupid alliance name right now. But let's... Okay, dial it back, Scotty. You need to relax. You're a little bit unhinged right now. Talk to me about questionable propriety.
So they're another static alliance. They didn't beat anyone ahead of them. They didn't lose to anyone below them. They just chilling in zone 1.
All right, Mad Titans.
They had some low elo fights. They also lost to Samurai, which dropped them down a bit.
Okay.
And Anomaly Detected. So last week they were at 17 and they dropped down to 18. So not a huge... Oh, wait, no. They were at 16 and moved to 17.
Okay.
So not a huge change, but...
And why did XA Neos take their spot in the 16?
So they dropped down 1 as well.
Okay. So they didn't move up. They sucked as bad, is what you're trying to say.
Well, they lost to Anomaly Detected and Samurai as well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, they just had slight movement.
And the Black Suns, where were they and why are they at 15 now?
So the Suns were part of the little... So there was a match between the Suns and Renegades last season, which moved them ahead of Renegades, and then they had a rematch Friday night, unfortunately, when the Mephisto buffs went live. So they got to deal with the Renegades Mephistos. But Renegades did have a very clean war. It was only a 2-loss war for them. So even without the Mephistos, I think they still would have won. But I think, unfortunately, Suns got to experience that. So that did drop them a little bit. They were at 13 last week, so they dropped to 15 this week.
Okay, and TSF Red. I think that's going to be the highest repped Team Superfly Alliance here at 14. Did they just not sell enough t-shirts to get higher than rank 14?
They took some hits this week. So they lost to Cantina, they lost to Samurai, they had to fight Legion, they lost to Renegades as well, which was a big punch up for them. I think like 400, 500 million.
I think we might have streamed that one, didn't we? We might have streamed that one.
We had some fights, yeah, there. So that moved them down quite a bit because they were ranked up at 11 and now they're down to 14.
Right on, right on. And then we got Samurai. So we were very, very tough on Samurai last week. You went to town on them. You were unhinged. It was rude. It was mean. But it seems they moved up. So maybe what you said worked, and we'll just accept that you're a very tough love kind of guy. What did Samurai do to get themselves catapulted up this list?
So I think my comments were Samurai. The Samurai's been around for a lot. They've often relied on TCP, and with the war changes, that hasn't helped as much for them holding defenses up and still winning just by power alone. So the previous season they had dropped a bit because they lost some big fights. But this season they won some big fights. So I think the biggest one for them was probably TSF as well. It was a bit of their punching bag. Where did that go?
Pretty substantially too. It looks like TSF Red didn't even full clear them, right?
Yeah. So that was a big war for them. They beat Titans. They beat XA Now's Academy. They did lose to Anomaly Detected though. So that's why that kept them a little bit. But they moved up quite a bit in the ranks because I had them last week at 23 and they are up to 13. Just based on all the people they beat. So it was good for them. They had a little fire under their butts.
Right on. Hey, that's going to be the biggest climber on this list, just numerically, the way it's looking right now. So shout out to Samurai for not sucking as bad as everybody below them sucked. And they did suck. Everyone below them did suck. Do not be mistaken, okay? Step it up. I need to see some of these names in the top 10 by 2 weeks from now, okay? I don't care if Mephisto's unbeatable. You need to figure it out. Moving on to Anomaly Detected. Talk to me about Anomaly Detected, because they were once, the biggest cluster in the game, and now they're down to 1 or 2 alliances?
They're just one alliance, and they're now part of the Black Cluster.
Okay.
So they didn't move at all. They were 12 last season, and they're 12 this season. They did beat Samurai, so that's why they're ahead of Samurai. It would be nice if they had a rematch for TSF, because what brought them down a bit last season was they lost to TSF. So now it's time to fight them again and get their glory back.
Okay, I like that. I like a recovery story, because if you were so down in the dumps that you lost to TSF Red, you need to get that back. You have to get that back. All right, and then another really cool name, Allspark Renegades. I'm guessing connected to Allspark Phoenix Force, but definitely 5 times cooler because we're in that alliance. What was their war season like?
So they had a good season. So they are part of the Allspark cluster, just like Phoenix Force. So they questionable propriety is a close match with them, and they had another win there. They did have to face the Legion tax. Then we got an annoying shell. And then they had wins over TSF, which was obviously a big punch up. And then the rematch with Suns, where they only had the 2-loss war.
Nice. So why did
move them up?
Go ahead.
That moved them up to 11.
And where were they last week?
They were 14.
So what put them ahead of Anomaly Detected?
So that is basically the TSF factor. So Anomaly Detected lost to TSF and they won to TSF. So if Anomaly Detected beats TSF or even fights Allspark Renegades, then that would put them ahead. But
Right on. All right, guys, so that's it for the rejects of the war rankings. Now, we're now going to move on to the top 5 through 10 before I need to go refill my drink, because I'm just depressed looking at these names. Like, ugh. Ugh. Well, I hope your drink is as refreshed as mine, because that's the only way anyone's going to get through either making this video or listening or watching to this video. We're not talking about the snooze fest from the worst of the best. Like, you know how they say, like, if you're not first, you're last? Well, if you're 6th or 10th, like, you might as well not play the game. Just throwing it out there. If you're 6 or 10, you might as well not play the game, because you're kind of just sniffing the butthole of greatness, and you're never really going to get into the butthole of greatness, if you know what I'm saying. All right, let's talk about the black. I believe this is Pathfinder's home right now, and he's not in the butthole of greatness, right?
I'm not answering the question.
But he is in the Alliance?
He is in that alliance.
Okay.
Correct. Yes.
All right, perfect.
So they didn't have a crazy week. So like they only moved down because thieves moved up,
Okay.
which I'll talk about later. But otherwise they won their wars, but they were just all people that were below them, and they had to pay the onslaught tax.
Right on. Yeah, that onslaught tax is heavy. It's like landing on Boardwalk with 2 hotels. We'll talk about. And then we got Galactus. So there's a couple rumors I hear about Galactus. I've heard that they kind of sandbag a little bit and they avoid interesting wars, but that doesn't seem to be the case from what I'm seeing here. We do see from the top 25, they're definitely facing everybody there, right?
I mean, they are facing the people around them. They don't move very much. I mean, they didn't have a super exciting season last time. They faced the black and won, which is why they're ahead of them. And then this week, like the first week, they did have some big wars. Like they fought troopers and could have won if they had cleared first.
That's a big war too for them to win. So would you say then that they are close to the butthole of greatness? Because that would be top 5. Troopers they're right there. And now we have a lot to talk about as far as Trooper goes. There's a lot of meat, rotten, toxic meat on that bone to talk about when we get there. But that's a really big war. So that's really impressive. So Galactus, you guys got to keep it up. If you can do that against Troopers, I expect really good things from them, because we have a couple people that are falling from grace later in this list, right?
And then they did face Super Outlaws and lost to them. And then I believe their leader, War Captain, was getting married the second week, so they didn't have any big wars, which is fair. So congrats, Dean, on your wedding.
There you go. Congrats, Dean, on your wedding. I'm not in the mood to say nice things. So let's just move on to Rockets. So Rockets, they're sitting up at number 8. I see they went 3 for 3 this week. Want to talk to me about the journey Rockets had this week?
So Rockets dropped because they did face Thieves, and Thieves won. So that's why Thieves is now ahead of them. They beat Anomaly Detected, which is their usual. Lost to Cantina Lords, and lost to Super Troopers.
Right on. So there's no shame in losing to Troopers and Cantina Lords. Wow, we got to talk about Cantina Lords. But Thieves, that's going to be like their main competitor, right? Like I think when you're at this part of like the power rankings, like you really should be trying just to focus on whoever's ahead of you and then protecting yourself from whoever's below you. And ranking doesn't mean anything, but if you are trying to measure the progress of your alliance against other people, you're not trying to jump the shark and beat, Onslaught, the big daddy of the war scene. All right.
Well, and I see like Rockets, Galactus, the Black, Thieves, like Anomaly Detected, Renegades, like they're all kind of in punching distance, I think. Because then once you kind of move on from there, that's when you're hitting like a lot more Mephistos, a lot more TCP kind of thing.
Right on. Okay, so we were just talking about Rockets. I want to talk about Thieves because they made some big waves, right?
I mean, we talked about them a little bit because of why they're there.
In passing, but they went 5-1 this war season.
I mean, like House of Dormammu, Baby Yoda, those are all big punch downs for them. I mean, AD is a close war, so I guess that's a decent one to win as well. They won against Samurai and lost to Cantina Lords.
Yeah, and no shame in that because that's a big punch up for them, right?
Yeah.
And Cantina Lords is just one step ahead of them. Cantina Lords sitting in at number 6. They were actually top. Were they number 3 last week? What happened with
They were like
Cantina
tied
Lords?
for 3-4 with Sex Panthers, but they had a rough season, and I am hearing that they might be disbanding. I don't know if that's officially happening, but I left them on the ranks this week just because, they've done a lot, and I wanted to highlight kind of where they fall into and the people that have moved up because of it. And I guess if they do disband, I'll have to remove them all together, but I wanted to leave them there until that's official.
Right, all right. So why don't you talk to me about the week that Cantina Lords had then?
Okay. So they did TSF, which is obviously a win for them. They did fight Rockets, which was a win. Thieves, and then they had 2 big wars. So Super Outlaws came to visit. They came with a lot more Mephistos. So this would have been the Thursday when the first stat buff went live, but not the move change. So it was 9-16 Mephisto, and I think there were a lot of frustrations over this unannounced Mephisto buff, and things got heated, and there was words said, and they lost.
Some words were said, huh? Well, to be honest with you, the Mephisto rework was stupid. It was, there's nothing much to say. It's just stupid. But this is a sizable loss. This is a 59-point difference. So big difference there. And then they also looks like they lost to the biggest trolls in the world, Super Troopers, who changed their name to Me Shadow Realmed. Because Baron's a toxic troll.
Brone says, I smell blood in the water. I'm going to go on over. Sure, it was him running away from Onslaught in the process, but yeah.
Yeah, no, leave it to Baron to jump into somebody else's game when they get the button notification to finish off the boss, and then click that button real quick, because he could never do it on his own. And that's kind of the theme for Cantina Lords. Cantina Lords, keep your head up. I hope you guys don't disband, because you guys have been one of the kind of the staples, kind of like the top 4 alliance, always kind of in that picture. So I would hate to see them leave, especially just over a rough war season and a rough Mephisto thing. I know that this Mephisto change not sitting well with a lot of people except for the super high ups, and it bit them in the ass too. So just know that everybody's going through this pain. I don't think they should be disbanding over this. I got a lot of respect for those guys, and a lot less respect for anything Baron touches. Anything.
Well, I would also say your comment that they've always been top 4. They have not always been top 4. They've steadily risen quite a bit in the war ranks. They've done a lot of like impressive stuff, because like I would never have thought Cantina Lords would rise. I think this kind of happened after Mutiny disbanded, and then they were just kind of raising up, and then they did a lot the last couple seasons. But I wouldn't say they've been like top 4 like long term per se, but they've definitely made a lot of moves, so it is sad to see. But there are ebbs and flows in this game, and we are in maybe an ebb or a flow. I don't know which one's worse.
All right, so then let's talk about the top 5 then. So we got all the way from the 11th, 25th rejects, the 6th to 10th wannabes. Let's talk about the big dogs. Let's talk about the 1 to 5, starting with Sex Panther. The Sex Panthers have had a huge fall from grace. They lost some of their like big figureheads, and it's definitely hurting them. I hear they're still in it. I hope they're still in it, because again, they're an alliance that kind of rose up kind of out of nowhere, especially after the Mutiny collapse, and they picked up a lot of those characters, and they were playing around with like that top spot for a while. So why don't you talk to me about the journey Sex Panthers had this week?
I mean, they are a steady kind of high top 10, I guess I would say. Like, they definitely were doing a lot better before and have dropped down. As far as wars, so they did face Super Troopers earlier in the season and lost. So that was a punch down for them. Then they had like the Carnage Shell, and then they did come fight Onslaught and lost there as well. And then they fought Galactus while Dean was trying to get married, which was a win for them.
Well, what I gotta say is that I have a lot of respect for people that step up to the fight, that they step up to the plate and they take their swing rather than running like a little scared bitch. Super Troopers sitting at number 4. Talk to me about Super Troopers, and talk to me about why they're not ranked 26th right now after what they pulled. Tell me, Scotty, why?
So they are like to be like the more obvious fifth after beating Cantina Lords. Fourth. They didn't face Legion this season, and I think the last time they faced them, they lost. I'm pretty sure. So I didn't feel like that would put them ahead of them. Legion didn't have like a very exciting season, other than losing to Super Outlaws, but in my opinion, that didn't put Super Troopers ahead of them.
Whoa! Don't bury the lead. Hold
What?
on. I'm gonna talk about that Outlaws fight later. So Super Troopers did go on and they beat the Sex Panthers at a pretty comfortable margin there. Actually, that's
Yep.
Considering what wars used to be, where it'd be 1 loss, 1 win. This was a pretty big win for them.
So Sex Panthers and Cantina Lords they beat.
Yeah. And it looks like they were actually down on the Mephistos in the Cantina Lords. Oh, and in the Mephisto. So, but the Sex Panthers ones was early in the season, so no rework had happened at that point yet.
Correct.
So the problem with Super Troopers, and I have a big problem with this because this is where me and you had our big rise in Marvel Strike Force, right?
Oh,
in Super Troopers.
Yeah.
Yes. Look, I throw a lot of shade at Baron. It's because we're buddies, we're friends. I know he can take it, and he dishes it out the same. We rose to prominence in Super Troopers. We made that name mean something. We chased everybody. We had a week where at the time we went after Mutiny, we went after Legion, we went after Onslaught, we went after Baby Yoda at the time, everybody that was ahead of us in the rankings, and we beat the brakes off everybody, and we ran to them. And we fought them despite the punch-ups, despite them having more of the newest Dark Dimension characters. Tell me the blasphemous bullshit that Baron pulled this week on the last war of the season where he could have really stepped up. Right before this video that he loves, the video that he's asked for, the video that he wants to measure his greatness. Their greatness, I should say, but it is all about him. What did Super Troopers do?
They said they were coming to 4 to fight Onslaught, and then they ran to
like
fight
little
Lords.
bitches, Scotty. Like little bitches, tails tucked between their legs. I know so many people in Super Troopers. That's not your character. You shouldn't be on this list. You should be punished for this. All right? And you're not facing Super Outlaws because they're your sister alliance. Get your fucking shit together. This is not fucking Kitty Adventure Timeland, motherfucker. You fight the best to be the best. You shouldn't be on the list of the best when you're running like a bitch and you won't fight your friends, all right? This isn't how it works. If I don't see better from Super Troopers, I am going to... You'll find out. You'll find out, all right? Let's move on to Legion. Super, you got break your shit together. Get your shit together, Baron, all right? I'm so tired of your bullshit. I'm so tired of the drama bullshit without the backing it up of your fucking actions. Back that bullshit trolling up or shut the fuck up. All right? Get good, nerd. All right, talk to me about Legion. Why did Legion move down from 2nd to 3rd?
So I have to gather myself after that. I mean, the biggest reason is Outlaws came in and kicked their butts with obviously a big TCP disadvantage.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to Mephistos, I don't know if I have a count on that one, to be honest. I feel like they were fairly even on Mephistos. Maybe Legion had a couple more. But unfortunately, I think Legion was also caught a bit off guard because they got jumped. And with the Mephisto rework, they hadn't replanned their defense yet and had a lot of one-shottable teams, unfortunately. Which
Yeah, so why don't you talk to me about the Mephisto team and how it is being one-shot and how people are not making it one-shot? Because these guys have all faced each other. They all talk, so there's no real secrets there. Why don't you talk to me about, like, why is this team that we're seeing right now beatable? This Mephisto, Doom, Quicksilver, Robbie, Black Cat team.
I think the big thing is it's lacking like APOC scroll, like things that would make it a lot harder, like the Cabal team. So like Out of Time seems to be the go-to like initial sack for a lot of them. And as you can see here, like even though Black Knight gets hit with Expose and can't do all of the usual stuff he does like the whole time,
the rest of his team is good. right? Like the rest of his team, that Cosmic Ghost Rider stopping all the debuffs, all the damage, sustain, everything else that the out of time team does, they're a really good team. There's a reason the 4-piece can beat New Avengers on their own, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a solid initial sack, but it just usually doesn't work. Like if Skrull and APOC is there, like you usually go in and kill the Skrull, and then you have to follow up with something else. And I think the follow up is where people are having a lot of issues, because then you go back in to try to smack Mephisto, and he laughs at your face now.
Yeah. Well, it looks like this is what had happened here, right? So we got a Skrull that comes in, and because he can actually get hit from the Black Knight ahead of time, he's getting dropped. So like Mephisto is not really the person to pair with Skrull. You're kind of looking at Apocalypse for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so very interesting there. We're kind of leaking somebody's DMs. I'm not sure if they had known that.
Well, he's the one that sent it to me with DMs in it. Like he what's going on there. So I don't think you're leaking anything.
Fair enough, fair enough. And I think we got one more to watch. Or this is the exact same one. All right, so that's how Super Outlaws ended up one-upping Legion. I got to give it up to Super Outlaws. They struck while the iron was hot. They knew Mephisto had been changed. They attacked a big dog. They didn't run. They didn't hide. And they pull out a big win. And that's why they're going to be number 2, which leads us to the biggest dog. The people who have not been unsat from that top 1 spot for a long time. Onslaught, the home of the J2D Alliance. What do you think could possibly ever cause Onslaught problems? Because it's definitely not going to be Super Troopers the way that they run away.
I think we are very much like Outlaws, Legion, Troopers, Panthers. Like these are all alliances that can easily take us on, especially with this Mephisto thing, the new war rules going in, like things. Everyone is beatable. We luckily have a great team, and Zubin's amazing. Like I don't see us always being number 1. I hope we are, because it always is nice to be at number 1. But like Outlaws have done great. Like I can definitely see them giving us a run for our money.
Right on, yeah. And the way Mephisto has gone has been kind of crazy, right? We've seen losses up to about 19 so far, I think is the record for him. And there's a lot of confusion about the way Expose actually works right now. We're still trying to figure that out. I'm trying to find the video that Chad is asking me to find, but I don't actually know if it's here. I showed both videos, guys, so if it's not here, then it's not here. Both videos that I have extra are not here, so... you got snubbed, Baron, and you know what? Don't run. You won't get snubbed. That's all I got to say. Yeah, so Mephisto's definitely shaking things up. Do you think that... Because people are mad. Like, people are genuinely mad about how Mephisto is acting in war right now. Do you think they're going to run it back and maybe nerf Mephisto a little bit? Or do you think, hey, this just is what it is?
I don't see them going back on it. Like... I don't know if Legion feels different about it now. Like, I feel like they were probably a lot of the people that felt he was underwhelming. Because, like, I heard that a lot. I didn't really... I did feel like he was underwhelming compared to, like, when Skrull first came out and when sacks, like, you could do a bad sack and, like, be hitting him multiple times. I don't think it was as bad as 13 sacks or 9.
Yeah.
I don't foresee them going back, because I've seen some people be like, oh, I love this. And they're like the big spenders. So it's going to be interesting, because they've already kind of started to release the floodgates a bit on Crimson. So it will be interesting to see, because I feel like we're going to start getting a lot more. And then the people who wanted the rework are going to have to, well, as Legion head to, is basically face all these Mephistos that are not fun.
Yeah. Yeah, those Mephistos can be absolutely rough. I'm trying to find the video that Baron sent me. Oh, here you go. This will make him happy and hopefully just shut him up a little bit.
That's not going to make him shut up.
No, nothing will it? All right, so Baron, he was up here. He was up against an Apocalypse, a Doom, a Robbie Reyes, and a Thanos. So Thanos is useless here. Why is there a Thanos there? Thanos.
The idea is it potentially hurts a sack, because then when people die, energy is given to Mephisto. So like even if you paused and didn't let him like get to his next attacks, then energy's going to Mephisto, so that he'll open up with all his shit again on you when you come back in.
Interesting. But with his stats the way they are, he would be an easy pick off for the first hit, right? Yeah, I don't know. I guess you get stuck behind the Robbie, but you end up taking
Yeah.
him out and not too much problems.
A lot of the ones I faced have had scroll as well.
I
So
can
like
see
then
that
it was
being
just
worse.
taking out scroll, and you never got to get to Thanos.
Yeah, I feel like everything about Troopers is fake, including their Mephisto one-shots. I feel like everything about Troopers is fake, including their Mephisto one-shots. And I'm calling you guys out right now, okay? Not because you're bad, but because you could do better. Do better, Senator. All right? You guys need to fight the best to be the best. You know that. It is now anybody's game. With Mephisto being as cracked out as he is right now, make the appropriate Mephisto team. Challenge the big dogs. I want to see that for the next season. All right, but this video has already been way too long. We talked about everybody who's horrible for too long, including everybody on this list that's not in the alliance called Onslaught or Allspark Renegades. Or I guess the Black Pathfinder's an okay individual on some days. But yeah, what do you think about the war shakeup as it is right now, Scotty? And how do you think the new war rule seasons are going to affect things?
I mean, I think the whole like hero or Spider-Verse thing, like with Invest and Spider Society, is going to be interesting. Not as crazy as it was going to be with the speed bar. I feel like the changes for Mercs for Money is like trying to make it more like helping the mirror, I guess, those rules.
Yeah.
For using them on offense. And I'm interested to see, just because I feel like with the Mephisto rework, we just didn't have time because it went into a weekend to really think about it as much. So I think that'll be interesting. I just feel really bad for the alliances that don't have Mephisto yet, and they before, when they were facing alliances like Legion and Zex Panthers and Onslaught, they were at least able to clear them, and now like it's getting more into good luck clearing them with all their Mephistos, which it just kind of sucks for them because it hurts their overall season as well.
Yeah,
and morale.
And morale. And obviously, Alpha Flight is going to start trickling in very soon. I think North Star is coming out this week. Do you foresee any sort of hybridized version of that team before they get fully released, or no? The answer is no, if you want to know. It's no. Yeah, it's not going to happen. But we haven't actually been able to even show footage of that team yet. So kind of a question if they're going to be, you know, this next wall that you would expect a specific war defense team to be. So I guess we'll have to wait and see how that goes too. All right, guys. I think we shit talked enough for tonight. I'm going to go offline and shit talk people to my wife instead. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you have an amazing start to your week. And I hope you never have to drink bubblegum vodka and sourpuss in your 30s.
Ugh.
This is not the life I wanted. And so I took it out on the people in this video. And I hope they know I don't give a shit. I don't. I'm going to do it again in 2 weeks from now. All right, guys. Have yourself a wonderful day. And we'll talk later. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun. And I'll see you in the next one.